So, good evening, everyone. Again, thank you for joining today and this weekend retreat. As you know, the retreats we have made money retreat. Okay? So, money retreat is going to be combinations of some teachings, some meditations. And meditation involves some visualizations, some contemplations, and using certain mantras. And the mantra that we are going to recite is Om Mani Kam Kam. So by the time we finish the retreat, we have a lot of money coming. Okay. So Om Kam Kam Money, Om Kam Kam Money, Om Kam Kam Money. I think we all like that, isn't it? Joke apart, this particular mantra of the Buddha of compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum, in short, sometimes we call money. So that is, we call money wheel because the wheel is full of Om Mani Padme mantras. So anyway, that is, we will be focusing on Buddha nature, loving kindness, compassion. And then to work with that, then we try to also use recitation of mantras and visualization, contemplation in relation to the Buddha of compassion. That would be the main focus of the retreat. Unfortunately, the timing, we don't have so much time to do a lot of session or meditation. Even though I would like to have more. When we used to have a residential, we used to have 4 sessions of meditation every day. But with the time and everything, we have kind of less meditation sessions. But I think, still we'll try to make most of it as much as we can, according to, So we'll start with a short breathing meditation exercise. So just try to relax your body and mind. Let go of any tense tightness in your body. Just relax. And for a moment, try to let go of any thoughts about past and future. And try to keep your mind in moment, in present, by focus on the breath. Let natural breathing to happen naturally, not trying to create. And just try to observe mindfully and be aware. When you breathe in, watch and observe mindfully, and you try to be aware you are breathing in. When you breathe out, again, watch and observe mindfully and be aware you are breathing out. Breathe in, out, and simply just watching, observing, and being aware. And then we try to have a good intention, motivation, and we can try to, for example, reflect, contemplate that how true love and compassion is the key for our own happiness and happiness of others. Is the key to have real world peace. If there is compassion within everyone who live in that world, love and compassion, there wouldn't be all the fight, quarrel, all the war. And trying to hurt each others, harm each others, trying to cheat each others. So there wouldn't be that if there's true love and compassion. Also in our family, if there's true love, compassion among the families, we would live in much more happy, peace, harmonious, without all the conflict and the suffering and pain that come through the conflict. and our own individual level when our by ourselves, instead of anger and hatred, if we can feel love and compassion, there is so much inner peace and the joy. Also, the true love and compassion is the key for our spiritual path, our spiritual journey, our spiritual progress. Without the true love and compassion, there's no way we can really make progress in our spiritual path and achieve the spiritual ultimate goal. Therefore, true love and compassion is must for happiness of others, happiness of ourselves, ultimate happiness, as well as happiness in this moment now. That being the case, we should try to put as much effort as possible to cultivate the true love, compassion, and trying to increase and improve that as much as possible. And to be able to cultivate for those who have not cultivated, and for those who have already cultivated, but to increase, improve, to limitless love, compassion. We need to contemplate, meditate, practice continuously. And in order to practice continually, we need to be reminded, inspired, encouraged. So, for that very reason that we have gathered here for this weekend, so we are reminded of the importance of cultivating and improving the love, compassion, and maybe inspired, maybe encouraged to work more harder in our everyday life to bring that more, to develop that more, as well as to have a strong imprint of that in our mind. And may us here coming together to listen, to engage in discussions, reflection, contemplation, meditations. May all of this become cause and condition to achieve our highest potential, the fully awakened state. So we can be most help, benefit, and not only to few, but to each and every living beings, sentient beings. And may we be able to try to work with that, to feel more love, compassion, to cultivate that more, or increase more that, not only during the meditations, but throughout the day, weeks, months, year, throughout the life. Okay. Who is the Umse?
So we're going to offer a requesting mandala to Geshe. Sajipu ki ju Lama Amba Kenam Kirche Quenla Kenze Chu Sente Chita Sampe Duje Zema Sage Cheke Sha. We shall just leave it there. So, idam guru rana mandala kandiya tayami. Pray, Buddha, to the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Gata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the great Sangha, to all three ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, in all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings in the rank of all seeing and subdue the ofo of false and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Sangye chodan soki chonamba janchu bardu dagni kapsuchi Dagi chonen gepe sonam gi drola and shir sange druparsho. Sange chodan soki chonam ba janchu bardu dagni kapsuchi. Dagi chonen gepe sonam gi drola Shir Sangye Druparsha. We'll do once in English, sorry. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings.
So I think most of you know what the ceremony we just did, but I think maybe for some of you who are seeing for the first time, maybe must be wondering what it is. So whenever we start any teachings, and there is a traditions of requesting the teachings and then making the offering of the universe and the body, speech, and mind. That is the first one that they offer is represent the universe, Mount Meru and the four continents. And then next is offering of there's a Buddha statues. It represents the body. And there is the text, the book, and that represents the speech. And there is the stupa, that represents the mind. So it is offering a body, speech, and mind. And so that is what we just did. And it is following the tradition when the other Buddha's enlightenment. For 49 days, he didn't give any teachings. And he gave teachings only when he was requested. And so that tradition is still followed. And also the Buddha gave advice, you shouldn't teach unless you have been requested, or unless in very special situations. Normally, it has to be requested. And so I think we still try to follow that traditions. And so that is, we start with that. And so, just as I maybe, according to Mahayana Buddhism, in the Bodhisattva's teachings and sutras, Buddha explained that how we, every sentient beings, have this potential to become fully awakened, fully enlightened. He explained that he himself was at one time like ourselves. like full of delusions, full of obscurations, But since he had that potential, and so then when you have that potential, and when you engage in practice, when you feel the effort to change your mind, to transform your mind, and slowly through practice meditation, you can slowly reduce and slowly overcome those negative affective emotions, from growth to subtle to more subtle, slowly, and to be able to cultivate and develop the positive state of minds, spiritual realizations, highest level of love, compassion, awakening mind, bodhicitta, wisdom, patience, all those positive qualities, then you can not only develop, you can develop it at its highest level. And when you are, or when your mind is free from all these negative minds or thought or emotions, obscurations, and when you have actualized all the internal positive qualities of the mind, that is known as a fully awakened, fully enlightened, the Buddha. And Buddha himself also, through the practice, he achieved that, and he also mentioned that we all have that potentials. What we call Tathagata Garbha, or the essence of the Buddha. And so he said we have that, whether we call it Buddha nature, some call it Buddha nature, some call it essence of the Buddha, Tathagata Garbha. Basically it's the potentials, And so therefore, since there's potential, if we work on them, we can achieve it. It's not something that is a very ideal concept, but it's not possible. Do you get it? Sometimes there can be certain things we idealize, certain things, but sometimes it might not be realistic and possible. But here is not just that. The Buddha mentioned we all have that potential to achieve. So, and that is because the fundamental, basic nature of our mind is unpolluted, undiluted in its nature. Even though our mind at the moment might be diluted, might be polluted with all these different negative thoughts, negative feelings, such as anger, hatred, ignorance, strong cravings, jealousy, pride, and so many of that. Even though our mind might be diluted or polluted by that, but that pollutions or delusions are very temporary. It's not in the nature. And Buddha give many examples of that. He give one example is like the true basic nature of mind is like clear blue sky. And our delusions are temporary, like the clouds, comes and goes. And due to certain cause and conditions, clouds created, and the cloud comes and it obscures that clear blue sky. But that obscuration is not obscure in the nature of the blue sky. It's temporary. And when the cause and condition change, then that clear can be that cloud can be clear, and then you can see the clear blue sky of the New Mexico. If that cloud is obscure in the nature of that the clear blue sky, then of course you cannot clear them because that is the nature of it. It's the nature of that sky. But since it's not in nature, it's temporary due to certain cause condition, it can be clear. So also delusion are like that. And again, if we really, it's not what Buddha said, if we observe our mind, okay, if we look at our mind, let's take an example of anger or craving or ignorance or of something, or jealousy, pride. It comes and goes. It comes sometimes due to certain cause and condition, and it goes. It's not always there, but our mind is always there. If it is in the nature of the mind, it will always be there, just as your mind is always there. But with our own experience, our own direct experience, we recognize and we realize, even though our mind is always there, those anger or those delusions are not always there. It comes due to certain cause and condition, and it goes. That is clear sign that it is not diluted, polluted in its nature. So one thing that we have to remind all the time is that when we have those delusion arises, being aware, this is not my nature. This is not my true nature of my mind. It's not true nature of me, who I am. These are just temporary. Even though sometimes we feel those delusions so strong, for some people, maybe they have more stronger anger. Some people, they have more stronger craving. For some people, they have more stronger jealousy. For some people, they have more stronger, pride. Different negative mental states more stronger in certain individual than others. But most ordinary people have their all those. Some have more strong, some have less strong, but it's there. But also it goes like that. So even though sometimes when it's strong and it feel like it's who I am, is my nature. Sometimes we might feel, being angry is who I am, is my nature. That's wrong. When you think it's my nature and it is who I am, you are just playing an excuse not to change yourself. Do you get it? It is an excuse that you don't want to put effort to change that. It is not your nature. It's not your true nature of your mind. It's not true nature of yourself. It is there because of certain cause and conditions, external, internal cause and conditions. And if we try to change those causes, you can reduce and you can get rid of that. And so reminding that is very important. Sometimes when we become negative, sometimes when you become strong negative, and when you're strong negative emotion, then you might feel bad about yourself, how horrible I am, how bad I am, how horrible person I am, The basic nature of you is not horrible. The basic nature of your mind is not horrible. Those all what we feel at the moment are just temporary temporary arising cause condition. So it is very important to remind ourselves always that our basic nature of mind and ourselves is pure and not polluted, diluted in the nature of that mind. And because of that is why those obscuration, how strong they might feel, they can be clear with the practice over the time. Just like sometime in certain weather, in a certain place, in certain time, it feels like you will never see the blue sky. In Europe, in certain time, you even think, is there a really blue sky at all? You don't see for weeks, sometimes months, all gray. You don't even notice there is a blue sky. But even though you feel that in certain moment in our life, like that, but even that, because it's temporary, it's not nature. It will clear, it will clear, and you will be able to see the clear blue sky, which they're hidden by those, obscured and hidden by those temporary clouds. So we always have to know, it is there. It is there, even sometimes we cannot see it so clearly because of that obscurations, the cloud of obscurations. But it doesn't mean it's not there. And sometimes if through meditation, if you are able to quiet your mind, all the thoughts, you might be able to have a glimpse of that is, in a clear, and it open a little bit, and you see small blue sky, and then again it obscure, for a short period you see the blue sky, and there is the blue sky, but immediately it's obscure. And sometimes we can have moment of those in meditations when you are able to think all the thoughts, and bring all the thoughts. And when there's, for a moment of that moment, we are able to do that, then you can be able to see the clarity of the mind, the true nature and clarity of the mind. And you begin to see, experience a moment of that, the mind that's free from all these obscurations. So therefore, and another examples, the Buddha gave is similarly the water and the muds. The nature of the nature of the water is clarity. But then when there's too muddy, then you don't see the clarity of the water. Okay? The water is too muddy, you don't see clarity. And the clear water has been obscure or muddy, but that muddiness is not in the nature of that water. And if you give time to the mud to settle down, then you will see the clarity of the water. And you can purify all the mud, and then you can have pure water with clarity. So again, that mud, dirt, or the mud in the water, which seems the water very murky, even though it's polluted and diluted, it's only temporary. It's not in the water. It's not in the nature of the water itself. It's temporary. And because it's temporary, you can purify that mud, that dirt, while you can still enjoy that clear water. While you can get rid of those mud, you can purify them, and so that again, the nature of the mind is that pure water, clear, pure water, and all the afflicted emotions, delusions, obscurations are like the mud, temporary. Another example they give is like mirror and the dust. The nature of our mind is like mirror, clear where it can reflect whatever object it is, but temporary, being kind of obscured by the dirt. And because that dirt is temporary, it can be clear. It's not in the nature. If it's in the nature of the if it is in the nature of the mirror, then you cannot clear it completely. You cannot clean and clear it completely. Same with the water. Another way of understanding is the nature of our mind. The basic nature of, fundamental basic nature of our mind is like the oceans. And the delusion are like the still oceans, and delusion are like the waves. Comes and goes. It comes through the mind and it dissolves into the mind. The waves come from the ocean, the water, and it dissolves into the water itself, into the ocean itself. Again, remembering and recognizing that all the time is important. Recognizing all the obscuration, delusions are temporary like a wave, like a dust in the mirror, like the clouds in the sky, like the mud in the waters, So that is one of the reasons why the delusion can be totally clear and eliminated, the obscurations. On another level, our mind, which is polluted and diluted at the moment, is not permanent. It's impermanent. And that can be changed. It doesn't have to be polluted and diluted all the time. It's not permanent. It's impermanent. And again, we can see with our own experience, our mind changing. One moment you are upset, next moment you can be less upset. You can feel compassion next moment. Not only you are not upset, you can feel compassion for that person you were feeling upset before. With that, what it shows is impermanent, it's changing. It changes when the cause and condition change. And so therefore, even our mind at the moment feel like all diluted and polluted all the time, but it's still impermanent. It could change and it can be clear and transform and get rid of that. Because it's impermanent. The delusion themselves are impermanent. And also because those delusions, they do not exist inherently. The mind itself, the delusion itself, nothing exists inherently. And so therefore, because they don't exist inherently, therefore they can be changed. They depend on many cause, condition, other factors. And when the cause and condition change, when the factors are changed, that changes. Just like the obscurations with the cloud in the sky. If that the clear sky that has been obscured by the clouds, if it's inherent existence, then that will be always like that. It will always be like that. But since it's not inherent existence, but since it's dependent arising, because it's dependent on many cause and conditions, and when that cause and condition changes, then the cloud can be clear. The obscurations or the delusions of the cloud can be clear. And so that is, so on the basis of that, so one, the nature of our mind, the fundamental mind, the nature of the delusion themselves is not inherent existence. They are dependent arising. And so therefore, the cause, condition, factors, they depend on when they change, they can be changed, transformed. On other levels, the delusion are temporary. They are not in the nature of the ultimate basic mind. On one hand, the delusion are rooted in the ignorance, which is rooted in false. Ignorance is rooted in false. And all the delusion rooted in that ignorance. Whereas if you can develop the wisdom that contradict that ignorance, and that wisdom that's rooted in the truth, not false, can overcome that delusions. That ignorance and that wisdom is two opposing, countering energy, just like hot and cold. when one energy is increased, the other energy become less. When you turn the air conditioner, then it become less and less warm as you increase more and more. Or other way around, when it's cold, when you increase the heat, then it becomes more and more warm, and it reduces the cold less and less. These are two opposing. Not only in external world, also internal world, there are those opposing energies, different mind, So the wisdom and the ignorance and that. So the more you increase the wisdom that is rooted, grounded in the truth, then it will overcome the ignorance that is rooted in false. And when you overcome the ignorance, then you overcome all the delusion that arises from ignorance. Again, because of that, so all the delusion, obscuration can be overcome, completely eliminated. And if they can be all eliminated, all the obscuration, then that is, there's nothing to obscure you from achieving your highest potential, fully awakened state. And so therefore that becomes possible, And so anyway, so I think it's very important to recognize and remind that ourselves all the time. That is our basic nature. That is nature of everyone, all sentient beings. If you see that nature in another beings who seems mean and cruel, unkind, when you see they have that nature, there's still hope. Do you get it? If they can tack on that their basic nature, they can change from being most unkind, mean, to becoming most kind, compassionate persons. If they meet the right conditions, if they encounter, if they meet the right condition, they can change because they have that potential, because they have that Buddha nature, because they have that potential. So it's not that is that when you see someone very unkind, uncompassionate, cruel and mean, sometimes you might feel, hopeless and that. But once you recognize they also have that nature, there's always hope. If they can meet the right conditions, right persons around them, right other conditions, that could change their mind, that could change their thoughts, that could change their perception, that could change their behavior, that could change their actions, that could change them. So also when we understand them, then also with that, then it gives us some kind of basis to feel compassion for that person instead of just anger and hatred. Instead of just feeling so negative about that, there's this space. It gives us the space in our mind. It opens the space to feel compassion for that person by seeing the potential for that person to be a kind and compassionate person. It's much more harder for us to feel compassion if you don't see that potentials. All you see is very harmful, very mean, unkind behavior, actions, and attitude, and that you don't see any change in becoming compassion. It's hard to feel compassion. But if you feel there's a potential for that person to change and become most kind, compassionate, caring persons, there's a potential. It helps us to have that space in our mind to feel compassion also for them, and and to have more hope to others and hope ourselves. Sometimes moments when we become so negative about ourselves, sometimes we lose hope about ourselves. We become so harsh on ourselves, We started to feel you are the worst person in the world, even though you are not the worst person in the field. In that moment, you might feel that way, Sometimes we feel and sometimes we feel others. Even though that person might not be the worst person in the world, even though that person might not be the worst in the realms, but sometimes we might feel that way. But if you see that potential, then if we can tap on that potential, if you can see that potential, if you can feel that potential in yourself and others, then you feel more positive, more hopeful, more positive, more hopeful. And it is important to be more positive and hopeful, in our life, so that we can deal positively no matter what challenges, difficulties that we might experience in our life, And therefore also, not only we can cultivate, those positive state of mind, such as true love, compassion, awakening mind, wisdom, patience, sense of contentment, the mind of generosity of giving, the mind of moral discipline, be able to not even have negative thoughts or feeling to engage in harmful actions, So all this, and level of patience, patient mind, strong, not a lazy mind, but very enthusiastic mind, level of concentration. All, not only we can cultivate and develop them, we can cultivate and develop that to the kind of the highest level, limitless. And that is one of the quality of the mind. One of the qualities of the mind is if we practice, all these qualities can be developed, improve and cultivate and improve and develop to a highest level, limitless level. And when we're able to do that, that's when you become enlightenment, fully awakened, fully enlightened, when you reach that limitless highest level of that. And that is the quality of the mind. Unlike like the body has limitations. Body has limitations. Athlete, they can excel, but they can only do, they can run 100 meters, 11, 10, now maybe they are in the 9, slowly maybe they might be able to run within the 8, but I don't think they can go in below 0, So there is a limit, how no matter how good you get at it, or gymnastics, all kind of they do, you see incredible how they do, with their bodies, so flexible and all these amazing things. But there is a limit to that. You can only, but the mind is not limited because it's not physical. The mind is not physical, so it has no same limitations. So if we can develop to the highest level, limitless level. That is the unique, again, qualities of the mind because it is non-matter, non-physical. Whereas on physical matter, you can improve, you can get better, but there is a limit. And also that is one reason, why we have the potential to become a fully enlightened, where our compassion can become limitless, where our loving kindness can become limitless, where our wisdom can become limitless, where our patience can be limitless, where our practice of generosity or the mind of giving can be limitless. All this, sometimes we know it is possible because sometimes we do have those minds, but it's not limitless. It's very for a short period. But potentially there is the potential to grow it to limitless. So I think that is a little bit on, let's say, Buddha nature. Okay. And I want you to start with the Buddha nature by understanding we all have that potential. And the reason why we do practice is because we have that potential, and that is why we have the aspiration to achieve that. In the Bodhisattva practice, Mahayana practice, the highest level of aspirations is to achieve your highest potential, the fully awakened state, fully enlightened state, so you can be the greatest help and benefit to others. That is the highest aspirations for practitioner on Mahayana path, Bodhisattva path. In order to have that strong aspiration, you need to know it's possible. Do you get it? Once you see that it's possible, then you have really stronger aspiration. If you are not sure if it is possible or not, your aspiration will be also shaky. If you are not convinced, that is something you can achieve, your aspiration to achieve that will be also shaky, not strong. But if you are aware and if you recognize and if you know that it can be achieved, it is possible to achieve, then the aspiration become much more stronger rooted. And when you have stronger aspiration, your practice will become more stronger. And more stronger, powerful practice, more consistent practice, better results. Then you begin to see transformation change in your mind over the time. From being too egoistic, be less egoistic. From being too much selfish to becoming less selfish. From having too much anger to have less anger. From having too much greediness or craving to having a less craving and less greediness. All of that, you begin to see, some changes slowly in your. And when you see the changes, also it gives you more confidence in your practice. When you see changes in your own life after having applied those meditation method and practice, then you see some, even if it's small changes, then you see, yes, it is possible. Change can happen, and because you have more confidence in those practice. And more confidence, again, give you more enthusiasm in your practice. And because the delusion are temporary, and because the basic fundamental nature of your mind is unpolluted, undiluted, and therefore, all the positive minds, such as love, compassion, can be developed. Not only they can be developed, they can develop to limitless. And since it's possible, so therefore, then that is where, and of course, there are many different meditation on loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind. There are many different practice, different methods, very different techniques, and Hmm? Yeah, different method, different technique. And you can use the meditations, without using the visualization or mantras. There are also method. Also, there are certain method that we use also visualizations and mantras. And if we can use all the method, it become more holistic and more powerful. Um, and just as I already, kind of touched a little bit when we do the motivations, when we feel the love and compassion of someone, you feel so happy and joyful, isn't it? When you go home, maybe you are stressed out from your job, from other things. You go home and your dog, greet you, with wagging the tails, lickings, and with that kind of joyfulness, happiness, showing some kind of appreciation, love, compassion, affections. It releases your stress to some degree, doesn't it? It makes you decrease your stress, make you calm, peaceful. And of course, if you feel from someone else, same thing, human beings, any beings, when you feel the affections, the love, the compassion, the care of someone, it makes you such peace, happy, and relieve many other problems that you might be experiencing, like as a sudden level of stress and like that moment, So that is what you receive. But also the person who feel compassion, they equally feel that way, happy, joy. Not only that dog give you happiness, he or she is also feeling happiness to see with that expression, that love and compassion, he or she also experience that joy and happiness. It's the effect of that love and compassion. Both the other and the person or the being who is expressing that love, compassion, both of them feel joy and happiness in that. Especially, sometimes it's hard for us to. Sometimes it might be a little bit more harder for us to understand that until we compare with the negative, the opposing energy of that. Love, compassion, the opposite is anger, hatred. When you are in a state of anger and hatred, how do you feel it? We all know that. There's no peace. There's no joy in that moment. When you have love and compassion, it overcomes that negative energy. It destroys that negative energy. Just by that itself, it brings a lot of peace. Just by itself, by getting rid of that negative energy, by getting rid of that negative energy through that love and compassion, it already put you in, more calm, peaceful state of mind, and then definitely on top of that, there is sense of joy, sense of meaning, sense of satisfactions, sense of true satisfaction, sense of true meaning in your life, true meaning, joy and happiness. That is, and so the love and compassion is so important for your own peace, your own happiness, as well as for the peace and happiness around ourselves, around our families, around our society, around the world we live in, is and so therefore, and we already have the basis, baby compassions, and if we just focus on that, we can grow it, There is the seed there. We all of us are that love and compassion seed, the potential, the seed, baby love, baby compassions. At the moment, our love and compassion is not limitless. At the moment, our love and compassion might not be impartial. Our love and compassion might not be unconditional. Our love and compassion is kind of mixed with some conditions, expectations, a little bit partial. We feel that for certain people, certain animal. We might not feel for everyone. We might not feel for that. And so therefore is partial, is limited, not limitless. But there's a potential to become unconditional, limitless. And there's already that the seed, the baby, we just need to take care of it. We need to keep giving water. At the moment, we don't give water to that. We don't look after that, the seed. And therefore, it's not growing. But if we keep on giving the water, keep on giving all the other conditions that need it to grow bigger and bigger and blossom into the full potentials, and it can be grown. And so it's not something that we need to actualize from outside. It's already there, but it's not fully grown up. You get it? It's already there. The seed is already there. It is not fully developed. It's not fully grown up. So again, we just need to, and then, the way to water and the way to give the other conditions, the water, the heat, whatever other condition that needs, fertilizers, the heat, all different that it need to grow fully, same way, meditating, through meditation we try to feel it. Through meditation we try to feel the love and the compassions. And when we feel it, then we try to expand it. We try to feel that feeling from 1 to 2 persons, from 2 to 3 persons, and expand more and more to all the peoples, expand to all the animals, expand to all other living beings. So that is the purpose of meditation, is through certain contemplation, certain practice, then you try to feel it, and once you feel it, you try to expand that feeling to more and more, and embrace more and more with that feelings, and that is one way of watering that, and then, we try to act compassionate actions, being help, benefit to others when there is a need and help, when there's a need of help, And when you have the opportunity, and when you have the capacity, ability to do that, and to offer that help, and that is also that each time we do that kind of compassion and act to the body, speech, and mind, again, we are kind of giving all the, conditions for that, the compassion to further grow it, by helping, supporting others whenever it is possible. And also, not whenever we try, even though we have even when we have the opportunity or power to hurt and someone others, but we make effort not to hurt and harm. When someone is nasty to you, you have right to reply, being nasty to that too. When someone is trying to abuse you, you also have right to reply that, but by understanding that is not the best way, even though you have right to do that, but that is not the best way. Just as you are hurt because their behavior, so you don't want to hurt them. Same with same behavior, with same actions. So even you can do it, you decide not to do it. Do you get it? Even you can do it, you can be nasty to that person, even you can be abusive to that person, but you make effort not to do that with understanding that you don't want to hurt. Just even though they hurt you, but you don't want to do the same to hurting others. And again, that is also working with the compassions, working with the compassions. And again, that when we practice that, even when we are unable to help directly, but when we try, even when the opportunity to be nasty and harmful to others, we try not to do that. We make effort not to do that with certain understanding others' feelings, understandings. They also do not want to be hurt, harmed, by, cherishing their well-being, just as we cherish, just as I don't want to be treated that way. If I don't want to be treated that way, I shouldn't treat others that way. If I treat that way to others, what is different from that person? With that kind of appreciating and cherishing their feeling, their understanding, we try not to engage, make effort to not do that. And again, each time we do that, again, it's visiting the love and compassion seat. It's giving more cause and condition for our love and compassion to grow and develop. So I think maybe today I had a plan to do practice, but that is what happens. That is what I am. I cannot plan. Now I have a big pressure. I'm going to get sick tomorrow. I'm not coming. I'm not feeling well. Can someone lead the retreat? I do that quite a lot. In my mind, then once I'm in there, then sometimes I carry it away, whatever that topic, subjects, and then I lose sometimes the timing. So anyway, we'll do the practice. We have time to do practice tomorrow. So I wanted to just give little kind of foundation for this practice. Before we do the practice, if you have a little bit of understanding, foundations for why we are doing this particular practice, then maybe we can understand why. And maybe, so anyway, so if there's question, I can take a couple of them, either in here or from Zoom. Any questions? Feel. Okay, maybe, yeah. Okay. No, if there's question, I still can one or two. So I guess it's clear. Okay. Yeah. So then we can do dedications. Yeah. If there's no questions, because also some people. Yeah, I think people are tired because they have been. Yeah, especially some of them since 5:30 or even before that.
Okay, so we'll recite the dedication prayers. Gewadi Lama Sangye Ryu Ne Yo Jo Chi Ma De John Chosen Chorinpoche Ma Ke Panam Ke Dior Chik Ke Wa Nam Pa Me Pa Yang Gong Ne Gon Du Pel War Shok. For His Holiness Gangri Rawe Korwe Jing Pandir Pendan Dewa Malu Zhengwei Chenrezig Wa Tenzin Gyatso Yi Jape Site Bardu Tengyurchi. The swift return for Rinpoche. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Charvakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings. Through explanation and practice, you are the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge. And for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples.
So thank you very much, everyone, and good night. And tomorrow and Sunday it starts at 9. So the teaching will start at 8, but 9 there is a practice. So if you have time, I will encourage them to come and do the practice. Okay. So, okay. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you.